All right, you bought your first electric pickup truck. You have a Rivian R1T. You have a beautiful panoramic roof. You're really excited. And then you realize with the glass roof, you have potential UV damage to your interior. The cabin certainly gets hotter. You have to use charge to either cool the vehicle down before you get into it or cool it down once you're into it. And now you're a bit annoyed. Don't worry. I have a solution for you. They finally came out with a UV sunshade for the panoramic roof of the Rivian R1T, and we're going to review it today. Stick around. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time. If you are coming back, thank you for coming back. If you've never been here before, I do lots of Rivian related videos. I do anything from the Rivian itself. I've done tons of videos on charging, infotainment, updates, all those types of things, driving. And then I'm getting into lots of accessories now because they're a little bit hard to find right now, but they're starting to become more prevalent. So as those things come out, I'm going to be digging into those. So BestEvMods, which they have an Amazon site, I'll leave that link down below. They reached out to me and said, hey, would you take a look at this UV panoramic roof shade? And it was certainly something I've been in the market for, trying to prep for summertime. I have a front window shade that I'm not sure I'm totally happy with because of the fit. Because there wasn't, when I bought that at the time, there wasn't one specifically for the Rivian. Those things are starting to come out. So this one is a specific fit for the Rivian for the panoramic roof. I did notice last summer that the cabin temperature seemed to get a bit hotter because of the glass roof when I compared it to my Jeep Gladiator I had before this. So it was something I was thinking about as I was thinking about summer upcoming. And obviously UV rays, the top is quite tinted, the panoramic roof for the Rivian, but you can always add that extra protection. So we're going to talk about the EV mod for the panoramic sunshade today. We're going to look at constructability, we're going to look at the installation and kind of the different parts because it has two main parts of it that you can either use or you can use one or both together to whatever you want to use it for to protect your interior and also cool it down. So let's jump into that. All right, so let's talk constructability. So there's two separate parts. There's like a space blanket part that has a black and a reflective side, and then there's actually like the foldable sunshade like you would normally get for the front window. Same concept, it's just more square because you're covering a square space. So there is a front side and there is a rear side. The rear is kind of flat and the front's a little bit curved. It's a little hard to tell the difference, but if you take a look at it once you got it folded out, you can kind of figure it out. The clips that come with it are just little tiny plastic clips, which I'll show you. And they're just, you know, they have a straight edge and then just a little clip part. The nice thing about the clips is you can pinch the space blanket portion against the actual mesh fold out sunshade in itself. You can use a space blanket or not use the space blanket. It obviously just gives you more reflection. A couple of cool things as well. The space blanket portion has a little bit of a magnet around the corners, and then there's a magnet at each of the corners for the actual shade. It's a light magnet, but you can tell once you find the right area. I would say putting them together, I had to kind of turn the space blanket around multiple times to figure out which side is supposed to line up with which, because there is a clear, you'll get it laid down and then like one side is a little bit out farther than the other. So constructability, I like the little magnets in the corners. The clips are kind of cheaper plastic, but it kind of is what it is for this particular setup. It's not that expensive, so I wouldn't expect something crazy. But if you're pulling this thing in and out, I wouldn't expect to break the plastic clips all the time. But if you're removing and putting it back, removing and putting it back, you could certainly maybe break one of those. But it's not like the thing's flexible, so you shouldn't be putting a lot of tension on those plastic clips. The mesh thing itself seems like it's good construction. The space blanket's kind of just a space blanket. The stitching and everything looks fine. Having two pieces, I don't know how I feel about that yet. It's a bit annoying to deal with the actual heat shield portion versus just the shade. I do like that you can have both options though. If you just want to throw the shade up, it would still let some light through. and the space blanket portion, if you have that on top, that pretty much blocks all UV from entering the vehicle. So if you're going to like somewhere like the beach and maybe your truck's going to be sitting outside a lot, not under shade, I would certainly take the UV blanket. But if you're just kind of traveling around, or you just want to throw it up because maybe you're going to like a picnic and you just want to keep some of the heat out, maybe you don't have to do the space blanket part, because once you have the blanket on it and you have everything clipped in, you can't fold it on itself, right? So you have to take them apart and fold the sunshade, fold up the space blanket, put it into, there's a little plastic bag that I'm going to keep it in. There's no actual storage bag for it specifically. That's Vader. He's very upset that I'm out here doing a video. So just realize that you have to carry them in 2 separate compartments. So for storage reasons, you could slide the shade, I believe, into, maybe not. It may not fit in that plastic bag that it comes in the package, but there is no travel bag. So yeah, so constructability, I feel pretty good. It feels sturdy. Like I said, the little magnets are good, and once it gets up there, it does its job. Having the 2 options of mesh versus UV protection completely, I like that as well. Having to deal with the 2 pieces, that's a little bit of annoyance to me, but it is what it is. And the clips are fine. They are what they are. You get 8, so you want to put 2 on each side around the outside, but yeah, so that's kind of constructability. If you have any more questions with that, certainly leave them in the comments below. All right, since we covered constructability, let's talk about the installation and the taking it out process. There's only one really difficult part of this whole thing, and it's finding out which side goes to which. So the diagram will show you there's like a flatter side and then there's a rounder side, and the flat's supposed to be the rear and the rounded's supposed to be the front. Figuring that out is the hardest part, because if you get it wrong and you get it up in there, turning it inside your vehicle is kind of a pain in the butt. So I wish they would have put little marks like on the mesh part, and then it would have said, just R and F, on the edges. That would have been perfect. They don't have that, so you kind of have to look at the whole shape, hold it up, take a look at it, and try to figure that out. Putting the actual blanket on top of the mesh part, not too difficult. We talked about the magnets. It mostly stays in place, and you can even pinch it with the clips. Putting on the clips was really easy. Getting it in, you just kind of have to twist it on itself. And then, I went in through the back seat and then get it up above your headrest of your 2 front seats, and you're kind of good to go. But once again, hardest part is figuring which part goes where, because turning it around in your vehicle is kind of a pain. So that is everything I wanted to cover for the BestEvMod panoramic roof sunshade for the Rivian R1T. I do think it's a nice product. Once again, you will have to keep them stored separately. They are 2 pieces. It does give you options, but that's also kind of a pain for installation and taking apart. It's not as quick as your front will be, your front sunshade, but it does not take much longer. And it does provide you not only the UV protection, but obviously being able to cool your cabin down, or keep your cabin cooler in the summer months, or if you're somewhere really hot. So if you have any questions about the product specifically, or anything about the Rivian R1T or other accessories as well, certainly leave them down below. Once again, I will leave a link to the Amazon site where you can get this in the description down below as well. So once again, thanks again, and we will catch you on the next video.